Okay. First of all, a little bit of a disclaimer. You were supposed to attend a talk by Victor Palma, which was about zero-touch automation and all that, which will be super interesting. But I'm not the person who delivered that talk, mainly because I don't have an idea about Terraform, Ansible, or any of those tools. So instead, I will offer you a political talk with some dreams, for saying a way, or some ideas about what's the status of the open source in Europe in particular, okay? So the idea of this talk is not to say, oh, the European Union are intervening or are doing this because they have political interest. This is a talk that I would like to show you that there's a lot of space right now for the open source in Europe. So this is an opportunity, a huge opportunity for us in the development world, okay? So allow me to introduce myself, since I'm not Victor, obviously. I'm Francisco Picolini, Open Source Community Manager for Open Nebula. I'm based in Madrid, even though that I have an Italian surname. The headquarters of the company is in Madrid, in a nice place called Pozuelo. Pozuelo del Arcón, for saying correct Spanish, and you can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Mastodon, everything. It's on the same surname, or you can follow the company social networks. As I say, we have offices. We have an office in Madrid, but we also have offices in Brussels, Brno, and Boston. Everything would be. There's no intention behind it. It's a mere coincidence. And we can say proudly that we are the only open source EIAS solution that born in 2008. We are also part of the Gaia-X Foundation. Sorry, Gaia-X project or foundation, I never know what it is, but it's a Gaia-X. And the Linux Foundation, we are a silver member, and we are part also of the CNCF and Linux Foundation Edge. So as you see, we are involved in several projects already. But to give you some context to start, I promise I'm going to start with the nice and interesting part. I'm going to talk about how open source concept has been linked to the cloud computing in general, okay? So how the European Union are now realizing that the open source to develop a pure cloud solution, it makes sense, okay? Especially at the infrastructure level. But to give you more context, some changes in the paradigm of the cloud market. We started way back when probably your parent or your grandparent, depends on how old are you. In my case, my parent? No, yeah, anyways. Between 1960 and 1970, we started with a centralized model, which was where basically the data centers or all the computers in one place. We changed to a model of a little bit more decentralized, where you have the client-server model, to change back to a centralized model in the beginning of the 2000, basically with the data center in a pure way, and then we ended up starting in 2020 to this distributed cloud, where cloud is everywhere. Cloud is nowhere, but it's everywhere. So right now we are in that type of model, for saying in a way. But again, since this talk is about Europe, open source, and how things are going right now, let me focus on what are the trends in the cloud market. This is real numbers. It's not invented. So I'm not going to invent much numbers. The only thing is that I have until second quarter of 2022, so I need to update these numbers. But the trend is clear. While the European market size is growing constantly, the companies that provide cloud from Europe are decreasing their participation. And this is real, okay? I'm not saying anything new. Probably you will know it. Amazon, even though that has an entity in Ireland, it's not European, okay? Microsoft either, and so on. So basically, there's a clear dominance of hyperscalers from non-European actors. The situation, it's complicated from a perspective of free market competitors. These are the circumstances that lead the European Union to identify that there's a failure, okay, there's a failure in the market, and obviously, since Europe needs to intervene in everything, yes, they decided that they need to probably take some actions in order to make this thing change and allow European companies to compete. What does it mean? It means that the use of the cloud in Europe, it's growing very slowly. Only, as it says in the slide, only 36% of the cloud services, only 36% of the European enterprise used cloud services in 2020 are mainly used for basic services, email and storage of files. There's a small market for the European actors, meaning that the companies that provide cloud are few and they have a small piece of this market. And the estimation is basically that there's a gap between what the European companies can invest and what US and China are investing. The estimated gap in 2020, I think this is from 2020, it's 11,000 million of euros between what a European company can invest and what actually US and China are investing. And aside all this, there are what it knows as technological silos. What it means is that, I'm not saying anything new here, but I mean the technological silos impedes that a client or a company can change cloud provider easily or in a more free way. So these are, these are a little bit of the situation that we have, aside other factors like data management and sovereignty. And here is what the edge computing is appearing as an alternative or as a solution. I don't want to explain exactly what edge means. So I assume that most of you know, but basically edge is having the resources close to what the user it is. Instead of having data to connect to a place or a data server in any other country, have the resources close in a tower near to the user is located. But there's a complexity here, which is how you can start offering that solution in an efficient way. And this is where the open source appears as a solution, as a technology, or as a service, okay? So the idea is that with open source, you avoid vendor lock-in, you have standards, you have the necessary technology that any company can develop and implement eventually, and you have those resources in a more effective and productive way. And yes, I started with the politics. Yes, this is the first slide of politics. I expect that this will be the only one. I hope that you don't hate me for this. I assume that we are not all agree with Ms. von der Leyen. It is what it is. She's the one now, so we have to deal with it. But basically, the situation that I'm expressing, it appears on many discussions around the European Commission. And there are many actors and companies that are saying this and expressing these concerns. There's also a big concern. We just came from another talk about security. This is about security as well, the management of data, where the information is located, okay? So it's not only that, I want to compete and I want to take part of the money. It's basically that in terms of defense, there are some governments that happily store their secrets and stuff in data centers in Europe, but controlled by US, or even in some cases, I'm not going to say which countries because I don't have the data, but in some cases, cloud providers by China, which is something like, you know, it's very, very complicated to explain, and I'm sure that you know that it's not easy to deal with that type of sensitive information so happily. So I promise that I'm going to finish with the European and all that, but this is to make the point. Continue with that line. We are seeing more and more statements. The European Union start to be more involved, and they evidently say that we need to do something. And thanks to the legislation and the bureaucracy of the European Union, we have the EU recovery funds, or the EU recovery plan funds, that it's oriented to improve the competencies and the ability of Europe to develop and work on specific projects. Okay, so there's basically it's not a joke. It's a kind of let's say a kind of say that many companies say that basically when Europe is legislating and wasting time legislating, Europe and China, US and China are taking the part and run away, and that's the situation that we have specifically with the cloud market. So, finishing the European situation, why Open Nebula is involved in this and what we bring to the table. Like I say, this is a project that started 16 years ago. Actually started in 2005. So I'm gonna make a small parenthesis. Allow me to do this small introduction of what Open Nebula is and why we are involved in these European projects. So this is a rough timeline. Again, we started in 2005. In 2008, we have the first version of the platform, which started as a private cloud platform. Since 2009, we started to be involved in European projects, many European projects ongoing. And 2017, we have the milestone of achieving 5,000 active clouds, which is not so much if we compare to other big actors, but for an open source project born in this way, it's a huge milestone for us. And in 2019, we started to be involved in the Horizon project, which is the project that I'm going to talk about in a few moments. The Horizon project right now, it's the one that concentrates the most of the technological projects in the European Union. Okay, so this is that's why I'm highlighting this. Again, what is Open Nebula? We are building a, like it says on the slide, it's a virtualization platform to manage your cloud infrastructure, handling virtual machines, Kubernetes cluster, avoiding vendor lock-in, having multi-tenancy, high availability, elasticity, can manage multi-cloud. So it's a very complete virtualization platform. And right now we are one of the few, well, not so few, but they're one of the few VMware alternatives in the market. So right now, since the situation that you all know about VMware being acquired by Broadcom and VMware saying that, I don't want your license of 20K euros a year, this is where some companies are struggling and trying to find options. You have KubeVirt, you have Proxmox, you have OpenStack, you also have Open Nebula. The difference with Open Nebula is that it's a European solution. We can run on any infrastructure. You can run on bare metal or on-prem or on above a cloud provider. We are especially thinking on multi-virtual machines and containers. And the marketplace, this is why I'm highlighting this, the marketplace is open for developers and companies to deploy any integration or application to make the platform their own platform, okay? So this is something that, even though that, like yesterday I mentioned to someone that we are a single vendor, in the end, the project tries to be open as much as possible and accepts as many applications as possible. We have integrations with Proton, with the Terraform provider. We have storage solutions provided by storage companies in Europe. We have also data recovery. So it's very complete, so I suggest you to take a look. And finishing this, the self-promo situation, the latest version is the 6.8. You can try OpenNebula in 5 minutes with Mini 1 or V1. The V1 is the option to replace your VMware instance. And by spring, we will have some news, mainly because I'm going to talk this in a few seconds about the new project that we are involved with the European Union. That it's about, we will be merging the two versions that we have right now, one, the Community Edition and the Enterprise Edition, into one, so everyone can use and take advantage of OpenNebula for their infrastructure. So let's go back to the European situation. I think that I still have time. Yes, I still have time. Allow me to talk about one of the projects that we are heavily involved, and this is something that started back in 2020, which is about cloud sovereignty. Yes, it looks a little bit like nationalism, but it's European nationalism, so it's okay and it's cool. The situation is that we are talking about a project that are involved only European companies, not companies that has a data center or a node in Europe, okay? So it's not the same. I remember having a conversation with one guy at Oracle that says, no, we are also European sovereign. And I was like, no, you're not. It's not the same to have a data center or a data store or a node in Europe than actually your company. It's a European company. So the idea behind this project is to, like we say in Spain, reconquer Europe. There's a long story of, I don't know if this is a bad joke about Spain being Muslim for 700 years and then it's reconquered. Well, that's a little bit of the context. Anyways, sorry for that. This project is better described on the web that I can describe here in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and explains the motivation, the technologies that that are involved, and why it's important that Europe use open source for deploying an edge infrastructure. Basically, having transparency, standards, portability, break the cycle that the companies, break the cycle for the companies that creates that infrastructure. The idea is to bring more competition, okay, to make more companies to participate in this situation in this market, okay, and also offer a level of security as well. The first successful project, let's call it successful because it started in 2022. Yep, the 2022. And the execution dates are until the 2025. The first successful is Cognit. Cognit, it's a framework for edge cloud edge continuum. The idea is to use artificial intelligence to improve operations and facilitate the transparency of these operations for the users. The aim of this is to not only create a place where companies can participate and develop using this framework, but also to facilitate some operations like mainly in the automation field. So we are not developing AI. We are not an AI company. I can tell you about other projects that we are involved using AI. We are now in a project that are trying to allocate services to make AI operations, but that's another thing. This project is using AI methodology to make the cloud easier for the users, okay? So it's, again, the idea is to facilitate the adoption of these services by the users, and specifically using open source solutions, okay, as well as defining standards for this infrastructure. This is a brief overview of the use case that we have. We are using this framework for smart cities. There's a use case of fire detection in forest areas, also for energy and also for cybersecurity. The idea is to make an offloading of part of the code from the application to speed up the process and make it simpler and transparent. And the AI offers that dynamism that we need to perform these operations. All this about moving one VM to one place to another, selecting one node, using different capabilities and things that can be done by a person, by a human, by a developer, or by an operator, but it will take ages. And with AI, the idea is to automate these processes and make it simpler and faster. As I say, this is the Cognit project funded by the European Union. Will be active until the 2025. We are participating with many other companies, not only in Spain, but also in other parts of Europe. And it's part of the innovation programs. The innovation programs are the ones that are funded by European Recovery Plan funds. And the last one, yes, I still have time. The last time, it's about the IPCEI, which is the new project launched in December last year. And it's operative since the beginning of this year. The idea is to create a cloud infrastructure based on cloud edge solutions for Europe. Ideally, not for Europe only, but mainly focus on Europe. This is, say hello to the largest. This is the largest project in the EU history. It's more than 2,000 million of euros. Half and a half will be half public investment and half private investment. And the idea at some point, if depending on how it goes, it's to increase these fundings. Okay, so we are talking about a big chunk of money, mainly to introduce or to effectively use open source in cloud edge infrastructure. There are several use cases. Like I say, this is huge. Currently, we are around with 100 companies involved in this first stage of the process. There are many use cases. There are many working groups, which is the WS. We are involved in obviously in the cloud edge capabilities, and we are leading the operating system and virtualization. Actually, we are chairing the first phase. In the cloud edge capabilities in the working group. So we are one of my colleagues is working as a chair member of this project. Again, think on how the cloud edge will be developed, mainly because right now Europe find out that they cannot compete with the hyperscalers side by side. It's impossible right now. So they need to find another technology that can be something that they can compete on, and they found out that cloud edge is the only solution that they can be a real actor in that sense, okay? This is also a high-level vision of how will be the structure right now. Obviously, I'm saying this because I'm part of the company that is involved in this, but honestly, this is only intended to beneficiate companies and users. It's not a matter of we are leading this and we are better because of that, but because of participating in this. It's because we believe in this project, as we are involved in many other European projects. But we really think that it's for the benefit of the users mainly, okay? So the plan is to create a technology that combines resources and multiple providers and advanced data processing services, okay? So this is a little bit of the situation. And yes, 5 minutes left, just in case for anyone wants to make a question. And yes, this is the situation. I mean, again, I know that it's a little bit political, at some point, at some point of the picture, but it's something that needs to be done from an organizational level. This is the first time that the European Union is involved in real, trying to deploy real solutions for the users, and this is why it's so important. So thank you, everyone.
So it will work.
No, don't work.
Test.
Okay,
Special thanks for Francesco Picolini. Thank you. So if there are any questions from the audience, then I will throw you the box. So,
thank you for the presentation. Question about the AI and edge compute that you shared. Do you believe that with this project overall that will be more possibility to offload the actual AI processing to the edge devices? That is something that you believe in and wanted to push forward or not?
Okay, I don't know, I have to repeat the question, no? For the recording, no? No, okay, okay. So basically the situation with the AI right now is that European Union is also trying to legislate how the use of the AI. So my feeling, and this is a perception that I have, is that it will take some time once European Union defines how we will be using AI and for what purposes, training and everything. The idea behind the project, specifically, if you're talking about the Cognite or the new one, the Cloud Edge, well, both will be the same in the end. Specifically with the situation of the framework and the situation with the projects that we are running right now, the idea is that all the AI operations are executed in European terrain, okay? So it's in European soil. So we have one piece of control over there. Obviously, there will be some parts that for privacy or whatever, we cannot gonna be able to see how it's going on. But the idea is to make it as transparent as possible. This is the ideal and the theory, and then we will see how the practice will go eventually. But the idea is to make these AI operations simple and transparent so people can, you know, if you need to offload something, some part, you can do it based on certain rules. So how those rules will be implemented, how that company will be able to deploy or offload those things, it's something that it's yet under discussion. Mainly, that's why the reason of the working groups, it's to discuss and eventually find to an agreement on how these things will be developed and work.
Thanks for the talk, really interesting. How do you, in my opinion, I'm a bit afraid of, because the regulation by the EU, how is the company competitive against American companies, or because they are way less regulated, and is this a problem?
Yeah, it is. It is a problem. The regulation made by the European Union usually are against innovation.
Yeah.
That's classic. I'm not saying anything new. I'm not saying anything that they cannot be said. I'm under NDA, but I'm recorded and I can say this because it's Vox Populi. European Union, it's famous for saying that, no, wait, let's legislate and then we see how it goes. This is something that's why I'm saying that many companies, and I heard this from several companies in Europe, especially in Spain, saying that, okay, I want to innovate, I want to use those funds, but I need to wait until Europe decides how to implement this. It is complicated, and that's why the Horizon project, and specifically the IPCEI, it's developed. The IPCEI counts with EU funds, but all the working groups are companies, companies or projects. Meaning that the ideal situation is that these companies tells how to develop or how to operate or how we will be deploying the infrastructure to the European Commission. And then the European Commission says, okay, perfect, I gave you this amount of money, you use it for this, perfect, that's it, that's all I need. What's going on in the future? I have no idea, especially with the change in the Commission and the political changes. This is something that it's a long-term commitment. Again, this is completely new. What I can tell you from the previous projects that we have, things are going, they are moving forward. This is a huge project, so it will depend on how good we are proposing things and how good we are, the companies, moving forward with this initiative. So let's see.